At the start of the film, we are introduced to a group of Russian soldiers escorting their prisoners to a jail. Among them is our protagonist, Craven the Hunter. After spending a day in the prison, the following morning, the other prisoners begin to provoke Craven. In return, Craven teaches them a harsh lesson, leading to a fight. As a result of the scuffle, Craven is summoned to the sergeant. Upon seeing the condition of the prisoners Craven fought with, the sergeant asks him about his past and his former occupation. Craven responds cryptically, stating, "I am a hunter, and I hunt people like you." Without warning, Craven attacks the sergeant, overpowering him. He lifts the sergeant, strikes him, and then stabs him in the neck before throwing him out. Craven begins making his escape from the prison. As he runs, it's clear that Craven possesses extraordinary abilities. He leaps with incredible force, speeds through the corridors like a cheetah, and climbs walls as though it's second nature. Within minutes, Craven escapes without encountering any resistance. As he races through the storm, a wolf emerges, seemingly prepared to hunt him. However, Craven locks eyes with the wolf, and it backs down in fear. Continuing his run, Craven makes his way to an air jet. Once aboard, he reports to someone that he has completed his mission and killed the sergeant, revealing that he wasn't a prisoner after all but had infiltrated the facility to accomplish his task. The narrative then shifts to Craven's past, where we learn about his life with his brother. Their father arrives at their college to pick them up, which surprises the brothers. Soon, they learn that their mother has taken her own life, leaving them in shock. Instead of taking them to her funeral, their father, a cold-hearted gangster and chemical substance dealer, forces them to join him on a hunting trip. When Craven and his brother question their father's actions, he harshly explains, "Funerals are for the dead. Your mother chose to end her life." He had no sympathy, and his aim was to toughen up his sons. He took them hunting to transform them into elite hunters. The family hunted animals and trafficked their skins, but Craven and his brother despised this lifestyle. Regardless, they reluctantly followed their father into the wilderness. The lion that the group had set out to hunt finally appeared before them. Craven, however, showed no fear. He aimed his gun at the lion and locked eyes with it, and surprisingly, the lion backed down in fear. Craven could have easily taken the shot and killed the lion, but he chose not to. He had no intention of killing it. But before he could make any decision, Craven's father, Nikolai, shot the lion. Enraged by the attack, the lion charged at Craven, grabbing him and pulling him forward. In an attempt to protect his son, Nikolai fired another shot at the lion, but it wasn't enough to stop the beast. The lion dragged Craven away before throwing his body aside. A young girl, who had been walking through the forest, witnessed the scene. Seeing Craven badly injured, she quickly administered a few drops of a mysterious serum into his mouth. Miraculously, Craven began to regain strength and heal. Shortly after, the rescue team arrived. As the girl prepared to leave with Craven, she placed a small card in his hand. Craven was then transported to the hospital, where treatment began. However, Craven's condition was so severe that the doctors declared him dead. But in a shocking turn, just minutes later, Craven suddenly revived. Once awake, Craven noticed the card in his hand, which the girl had given him. At the same moment, his father and brother arrived to visit him. His brother was overjoyed to see him alive, though Craven was still in critical condition. Despite this, his father decided to take him home. At home, Craven's father had a surprise waiting for him. He revealed the face of the lion that had attacked Craven. Craven had spared the lion's life, but his father had killed it in retaliation for the attack. Craven was furious and confronted his father, telling him, "You shouldn't have killed him." Nikolai, enraged by Craven's response, stormed away with Craven. Later, Craven went to his room, packed his belongings, and kept the card the girl had given him. That night, under the cover of darkness, he left. His brother, seeing him leave, tried to stop him, pleading, "Brother, you can't leave me." Craven, with resolve in his eyes, replied, "I'm not going far. I'm going to the place where Mom used to take us." With that, he left, heading toward the forest. The place that Craven's mother used to bring him to was deep within the forest. Upon reaching the forest, Craven found himself facing a major obstacle. He was surrounded by a herd of bulls charging at him. With no time to react, he lowered his head and stood still. Surprisingly, with his eyes closed, the bulls miraculously avoided him. When he finally opened his eyes, He was stunned to see one bull standing directly in front of him, as though protecting him. He locked eyes with the bull, and after a brief moment, the bull moved aside, allowing him to pass. Craven continued his journey through the forest and arrived at the camp where his mother used to bring him. The place was peaceful and beautiful, a haven in the heart of the wild. Craven decided to make this his new home, surrounded by the animals he now considered his companions. Over time, he began to embrace this new life, feeling a deeper connection to the forest. One day, while watching a deer run through the forest, Craven instinctively started chasing after it. To his surprise, he realized he could run as fast as the deer. He felt an unfamiliar surge of power. He could move like a cheetah, with the strength of a lion, and jump and climb trees like a monkey. This newfound ability brought Craven joy as he explored the forest with his animal companions. However, his peace was shattered when he spotted two hunters entering the forest. The hunters began attacking buffaloes and decapitating them. Furious at their cruelty, Craven confronted them, warning them to stop. The hunters, bewildered by his behavior, aimed their guns at him. This only fueled Craven's anger, and he attacked them in a fit of rage. He overpowered them, beating them so mercilessly that both hunters died. From that moment, Craven swore to never let any hunter live. The scene then shifts to the present, where Craven arrives at the forest in his plane. He notices a group of Russian mafia hunters in the forest, engaged in their cruel business of hunting buffaloes. Enraged by this sight, Craven confronts them, demanding they stop. The leader of the hunters orders Craven to step aside or they will run him over. Ignoring the warning, Craven charges at them, leaping into one of their vehicles to engage in a fierce battle. He successfully prevents them from taking the truck, but is unable to stop the leader's car. Before the leader escapes, Craven makes sure to take note of the car's number. In the next scene, we see the same leader in his office, having just arrived to meet with his boss. Craven's sudden appearance shocked Andre when he turned around to report to his boss, only to find Craven sitting in the chair instead. Not only had Craven reached before him, but he had also killed Andre's boss. With a calm yet chilling demeanor, Craven asked, "How should I kill you? Let me check my diary first to see if you're on my list." Flipping through the pages, Craven confirmed that Andre was indeed listed. The diary contained the names of all the people Craven had planned to kill, those he deemed evil. With a swift decision, Craven crossed Andre's name off the list, grabbed his gun, and shot him dead. Leaving the room with unwavering confidence, Craven walked away, leaving behind the two dead men hanging from the door. The scene cuts to years later, and we see the girl who had saved Craven's life, now a successful lawyer. Every day, she faces threats and enemies due to her line of work. On the day of her friend's funeral, Craven arrives to speak with her. He reveals that he has killed the Russian sergeant responsible for her friend's death, confirming her friend's murderer's identity. Initially shocked and skeptical, the lawyer begins her own investigation at home. To her astonishment, Craven's words are true. Someone named Hunter had killed her friend's murderer. As she digs deeper, she discovers that the hunter is none other than Craven. He shows her the card she had given him in his childhood, and she is stunned that he remembered her all these years. Craven explains that he has been hunting down criminals and mafias, but the lawyer, conflicted, calls him a murderer as well. In response, Craven remains indifferent. He then hands her his diary, telling her, "You work in a field where criminals are set free every day. I want you to write down the names of these criminals in my diary so I can rid the world of them." Reluctantly, the lawyer agrees to take the diary. Meanwhile, a powerful mafia figure named Rhino, known for his ruthless dealings, is confronted with shocking news. His biggest enemy, a gangster, has been killed. Curiously, Rhino decides to join forces with the mysterious killer who took out his enemy, sensing that the individual could be a threat in the future. Rhino's body has been altered, making him almost indestructible after being injected with a strange serum that turned his skin as tough as stone. As Rhino takes revenge on those who dared to oppose him, he eliminates his enemies with ease, including Morris, the last man who dared to defy him. Morris, in fear, agrees to join forces with Rhino. That evening, Craven's father, Nicholas, calls Morris in for a business meeting. Unbeknownst to him, Morris, now aligned with Rhino, has come to kill Nicholas at Rhino's orders. His men begin attacking Nicholas's guards, but Nicholas is no ordinary target. With precision and skill, Nicholas takes down Morris and his men. Rhino, furious at the failure of his plan, is then informed that the man who killed his enemies has been identified. His face reveals that he has a bigger game in mind. Meanwhile, Craven, who has been hiding in the shadows, makes his way to his brother's birthday celebration at their father's bar. As they celebrate, Nicholas joins them, unaware that the events unfolding outside are about to change their lives forever. Craven's father tried to convince him to come back home, saying, "Son, we are family. Why did you go so far from us? You should come and live with us." But his words fell on deaf ears, and Craven remained distant. Despite this, they continued their celebration, enjoying the party. Later, Craven returned home to check on his brother, who was heavily drunk. Just as Craven was about to leave, his brother stopped him in a way that left him no choice but to stay. Craven, though, was accustomed to the freedom of the forest, not the confinement of a sofa. So, he slipped outside into the garden and slept under the open sky. The next morning, Craven woke up early and went to check on his brother, only to discover that his brother was missing. Bloodstains on the bed told a grim story. Someone had entered the house and kidnapped him. Craven's eyes narrowed as he realized they hadn't gone too far. Without wasting time, he leapt from the window and pursued them, jumping from the building and chasing their car. Craven tried to stop the vehicle, attacking the bulletproof windows, but his efforts were in vain. The car sped away, and despite his attempts to break through the windows, he was thrown off by the sudden jolt. As the car disappeared, Craven saw the kidnappers transfer his brother to a helicopter. Desperate, he tried to scale a rope ladder from a nearby ship to catch up, but the helicopter's speed was too much. His plan failed as he was thrown into the water. Frustrated and helpless, Craven sought out the lawyer, explaining the dire situation. He hoped she could help him track down the kidnappers. Thanks to her skills, she was able to trace their location. Craven also learned from his father that the kidnappers were part of a mafia group and had taken his brother for ransom. In a matter-of-fact tone, Craven suggested, "What's the problem? Just give them the money." But his father refused, adamant that paying the ransom would make him appear weak. He was prepared to let his son die rather than bow to the kidnappers' demands. This revelation fueled Craven's anger. He realized that saving his brother was his responsibility, and he was determined to do whatever it took. Just as he was about to leave, a man approached the lawyer, bringing crucial information about the kidnappers' location. With this new lead, the lawyer shared the news with Craven, and he was filled with renewed hope. Just 5 minutes later, the man who had met the lawyer went straight to Rhino's associate. This revealed a shocking truth. The kidnappers weren't random thugs, but members of Rhino's own mafia. Rhino had orchestrated the entire situation, sending Craven a trail of information to lead him straight into the trap. Craven, unaware of the plot, followed the clues and arrived at the location of the kidnappers. The lawyer had informed him of the spot, and Craven wasted no time. Upon arrival, he launched into a fierce battle with the guards, who were armed with guns. Despite being outnumbered, Craven fought off 2 guards simultaneously, using his strength and agility to overpower them. He quickly seized their sniper rifles and killed the rest of the guards as he advanced toward the room where his brother was held captive. Just before freeing his brother, Craven confronted the leader of the kidnappers. As the two fought near a window, Craven suddenly realized the truth. This was all part of a trap. The window shattered, and both Craven and the leader fell to the ground. As they tumbled, large rocks were thrown down at them, and Rhino, thinking Craven had been crushed, celebrated his victory. His laughter echoed through the air as he finally released Craven's brother, smugly revealing the truth about Craven, that he was the hunter, eliminating mafia and dangerous criminals without mercy. Meanwhile, 2 of Rhino's men were dispatched to confirm Craven's death. However, to their shock, Craven was still alive, hidden beneath the rubble. His incredible resilience and hidden powers surfaced as he took down the 2 men and grabbed their weapons. He then made a call to the lawyer, warning her of the mafia's plans to target her. He advised her to leave immediately before they could reach her. The lawyer took Craven's advice seriously and left her office, flying to the location Craven had pointed out. He had led her to the forest, where they were to meet in safety. But as they journeyed toward Craven's camp, a cheetah suddenly emerged from the bushes and attacked. Craven, accustomed to such encounters, fought the cheetah as if he were one of its own kind, effortlessly defending himself. Impressed by his strength and courage, the cheetah retreated. The lawyer, witnessing Craven's incredible abilities, was left in awe. Back at Rhino's office, news broke that Craven had survived and escaped their grasp. Furious, Rhino dispatched a group of spies to track Craven down. One of the spies returned with a clue, a wildflower from the spot where Craven had been buried. Rhino's eyes narrowed as he realized that Craven was hiding in the forest, a place he knew all too well. Meanwhile, Craven and the lawyer were in the forest when Craven asked, "Do you still have the serum you gave me as a child? Do you know where I can find it? It was powerful, and I need it again." The lawyer, surprised by his request, explained that she didn't know much about the serum. "My grandmother was the one who made it. She knew a lot about herbs, but I don't have any more of that medicine." Craven's face darkened as he realized the difficulty of finding the serum, but his determination only grew stronger. Craven asked the lawyer, "Can your grandmother still make the serum?" She replied with a somber expression, "No, she passed away a long time ago. No one else knows about the serum." Meanwhile, Rhino and his men were on their way to the forest, determined to finish Craven. Rhino's spy carried a special poisonous injection that would end Craven's life. As Rhino's men entered the forest, they spread out, searching for the rare flowers that Craven had lived near. Craven, anticipating their arrival, had already prepared numerous traps. His enemies fell victim to them one by one. Craven, relentless in his pursuit, began to fight back against the remaining men. The sound of screams from his enemies alerted Rhino that Craven was drawing near. It was then revealed that the spy accompanying Rhino was actually a magician, capable of using tricks to escape Craven's attacks. But in the chaos, the magician managed to inject Craven with a deadly poison. As Craven collapsed, the magician aimed his gun to finish him off, but before he could pull the trigger, the lawyer appeared from behind and shot the magician, killing him instantly. Rushing to Craven's side, the lawyer found him on the brink of death. She had lied about not having the serum. In reality, she still had it, the very same serum her grandmother had created. She administered the serum to Craven, and slowly, he began to recover. Not only did he regain consciousness, but his wounds healed and his strength returned. Rhino, unaware of Craven's survival, was pleased to learn from his men that the magician had succeeded in killing him. He celebrated, believing his mission was complete. He gathered his men and prepared to leave the forest. But as they exited, disaster struck. A herd of wild buffaloes charged toward them. Rhino, now fearful, injected himself with the same serum that turned him into a stone-like creature. While Rhino became a massive, stone-like figure, the buffaloes attacked, destroying their vehicles and causing chaos. Rhino, now more powerful than ever, was ready to face Craven. The two clashed, with Rhino's sheer strength overwhelming Craven at first. However, Craven quickly realized that he could not defeat Rhino with brute force alone. He needed to outsmart him. Craven struck Rhino at the spot where he had injected the serum, weakening him. Using his cunning, Craven then tied Rhino to a rope, which was attached to the buffaloes. As the buffaloes ran wild, they dragged Rhino through the forest, causing him immense pain as he was tossed around. With Rhino on the brink of death, Craven pulled out his gun, ready to deliver the final blow. But just as he was about to shoot, his brother stopped him. In that moment, Craven confronted Rhino, asking, "Who sent my video to you? Who told you about me?" Rhino laughed bitterly and answered, "You don't know? It was your father. He told me everything about you." Stunned, Craven sought out his father to understand why he had betrayed him. His father revealed the painful truth. "I knew you were hunting down mafias and bad people. But Rhino was my biggest enemy, the one I couldn't defeat. He killed one of my friends and took over his business. That business should have been mine, but I couldn't get revenge on Rhino. So I used you. I knew that when he attacked you and your brother, you wouldn't let him go. And you did just that." Craven was left heartbroken, realizing his father had played him as a pawn in his own war with Rhino. But in that moment, Craven understood his role. He had cleared the path for his father's rise in the mafia world. His father, now in a powerful position, was becoming a major force in the criminal world. But Craven, having lived a life of justice, couldn't accept this. As Craven listened to his father's justification, he left him behind, deciding that his father's fate would be the same as all the other bad people he had hunted down. Craven allowed a wolf to attack his father, a silent message that his father, like the criminals Craven had eliminated, would face his own consequences. Craven made no attempt to save him. In the post-credit scene, Craven was seen living a peaceful life with his brother. With the mafia finally dismantled, Craven had left behind his violent past. The two brothers, free from the chaos, smiled at the simple life they now shared, as the film ended on a note of quiet redemption. With this, the movie ends. If you liked this video, then do not forget to subscribe to the channel after liking the video.